hell was that with Samira earlier?
That was tough love.
You are her superior. She was obviously struggling, and your advice was go home?
Essentially, yeah. This is the ED. It's not for the faint of heart.
It's not for the unempathetic either.
Samira's not having a panic attack because of her patient. She's having one because of personal baggage. What she needs to do is pull her head out of her ass and focus on the work.
What about you? What do you need to get some basic human empathy back?
I don't know. Something that gives me a little hope this place won't fall to shit when I'm gone.
Hello, all. Welcome back to What's On Tonight, a podcast with elaborate, quirky, and unpredictable conversations about TV, movies, and more. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
And I'm Ellen.
Today we are covering HBO Max's hit show, The Pitt, Season 2, Episode 10, titled 4 p.m. And oh my gosh, what an hour. Please note this is a spoiler-filled podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode yet and don't want to be spoiled, just come back and check us out after you finish watching. Now, before we get into feedback we got on Episode 9 and this episode, we want to welcome Ellen.
Hello.
Reached out to us via email many moons ago, it feels like.
It feels like it, sure.
Talking about how she enjoys the podcast and the show and mentioned maybe coming on. So we did like a little meet and greet Zoom call and fell in love. So welcome. Aww. We're glad you're with us.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. I'm going to try not to let my Boston accent slip out. But
no, you let that accent slip out. Accents are great.
I'm glad to be here.
There you go.
Here.
All right. Well, let's get into feedback that we got on our episode 9 coverage. So via YouTube, our girl Linda 1541, hey girl, hey, said, great podcast. I think something tragic is going to happen to Dr. Robbie's friend that didn't show up yet. And based on what we saw in this episode, I feel like a negative diagnosis is coming, which is great because that's what we need more of.
All right. And we have at Kano0794. Loved your discussion about Roxy and McKay. What a heart-wrenching but important story. Absolutely, yeah. Mel absolutely shouldn't be looking after Becca, especially when there are other options available. Robbie appropriately stepped in! Exclamation points. I loved seeing how much Langdon has learned from Mel, even as Mel has learned from him as well. Poor Javati. Yeah. Okay. Every doctor is going to, at some point in their training, have a person that they missed. Something they should have done better. And it's going to haunt you. It's a bit unrealistic that the patient could have got this far in treatment with only being seen by a medical student, as they typically cannot write orders independently. So they would have needed to be signed off. Regardless, the ER is one environment where things are easier to slip. Garcia was in the wrong for blaming her, though, especially in the way she did it.
Agreed.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it was over the top a little bit.
Yeah. And Kano, thank you for continuing to be our, the Pitt has medical people on site to help them make sure things are accurate. I look at Kano as our medical assistant.
Awesome.
At Balboa Baby 1964 writes, Robbie was still giving Langdon the hard eye in this episode, maybe setting a trap to see what Langdon does with him gone. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I could definitely see why that would pop into your head. It doesn't feel like Robbie's bag, though. That just doesn't seem like him.
At Psycho Jax, love the name, wrote, it is a common misconception that the furry community is a sex community. It's not about sexuality, it's about identity. Like the difference between being gay and being trans. One is about who you love and the other is about who you are. Now, do some furries participate in sexual activities in costume? Of course, because it is your identity. So obviously you find other people in that identity also appealing, but those things are not mutually exclusive. Also, to the point of Joy and Santos, you said there isn't a power imbalance there. Santos is a second-year resident and Joy is a medical student, so there absolutely is a power imbalance. Fair?
Uh, a little bit, but I don't think it's to the same degree as senior residents or attendings and an R2.
I agree.
Santos doesn't really have authority like senior residents or an attending does.
Yeah, that was my thought, but I don't know shit about the medical
Same.
community, so I could totally be wrong there. But that was my assumption, is that it was more like coworkers where one of you might have a bit of a higher pay grade, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that person is in any way in a position of authority over you.
Right.
I just thought they looked cute together. That was my
Right.
I definitely think they look cute together.
You know?
Hashtag Team Jantos, man.
Yeah.
Psycho Jax goes on to say about Garcia always getting called down to the ER. That's why Langdon calls her Yo-Yo, because she's always coming down to the ER.
That's right. I forgot about that. I think they said that in season 1, and I completely forgot. And her name's Yolanda.
Yolanda,
too, right?
Yeah.
Well,
That's
I
right.
feel like an idiot because I thought he was calling her YOLO, like you only live once this entire time. So, Psycho Jax, 1, thank you very much for giving us information on the furry community.
Mm-hmm.
We love when people reach out and let us know when we aren't describing something correctly. So, thank you for that. Thank you for pointing out it's yo-yo, not YOLO, because oops, my bad. And thanks for the feedback.
All right. And speaking of the furry community, I totally bombed on my response about that storyline. And Melissa here is going to give me more information on exactly how that went down. Via email, she says, "Hi, Becky and Mandy. First, I want you to both know how much I genuinely enjoy your podcast." Thank you, Melissa. "I look forward to each new episode as it airs. It's informative. I appreciate the differing viewpoints, and I love that you treat each other with respect, even when you disagree." Melissa, thank you for saying that, because we've been friends for so long. Like, we are both so passionate and hate being wrong about anything that there are absolutely times when we don't, this is all extemporaneous. This is just us talking the same way that we would be talking about this if we didn't have any of you guys listening. So I know we had like a pretty heated discussion a couple of episodes back about Robbie and Langdon, which we just fundamentally see that storyline very differently. But I'm very glad that you picked up on the fact that we always love each other. And as soon as we hang up from this, we're back to, being each other's person in life. So I'm glad that the respect and the love come across just like the disagreements do. Mm-hmm. Anyway, back to this. That said, I was disappointed by how furries were portrayed in your podcast. I spent 30 years in the hotel industry, primarily in sales, convention services, and operations. And for 7 years before COVID, my hotel hosted a group called Morphicon. I worked directly with them each year. They held their furry convention. The most important thing I want to emphasize that this community is absolutely not sexual in nature. In fact, they were some of the most polite, well-behaved, and gracious guests I ever worked with. Their conventions include panel discussions, plays, poetry readings, dance parties, costume contests, and parades through the city. It's a really big event. Because of that experience, I felt the topic wasn't handled as respectfully as it could have been. I felt there should have been some research on the topic if you didn't have any knowledge of it or what they do. They don't quote unquote pork each other through holes in their costumes, and it's not considered a kink group by any stretch. Even a quick search for Anthrocon in PA shows that it's a safe, family-friendly event. There are even families who attend in costume together. In the podcast, you asked if anyone had any experience with them, and if so, could we share that with you? I'm not sure of anyone else's experiences, but I wanted to share mine. Thanks so much, Melissa. Melissa, I am very sorry. You're right. I totally buffed that. I want to say the way that I got the impression that I did have of them, and I absolutely should have looked into it more before I spoke, and it didn't even occur to me to do so. But I watched I want to say it was like an HBO documentary about them. The first time I heard about them was back in the 90s. They had this documentary. That documentary very much focused exclusively on the sexual aspects of furries, which, doing the little bit of research that I have actually done on the topic now, as the previous writer pointed out, sometimes sex is a component of it. There are absolutely times that people in the furry community are having sex with each other, but I was 100% wrong in that it is not primarily a sexual thing. And so I deeply apologize to anybody that I offended about that. You're 100% right, and I really, really appreciate both of you guys letting us know how far we got that wrong.
Yeah, it means a lot. People think when you get feedback like this that it's a bad thing, and that's Mandy and I will never look at it that way, because we want to learn and we never want to disrespect anybody's community. We try so hard to be inclusive and understanding, and we both could have done better research when we were discussing it, but thanks both to Psycho Jax and Melissa. And I did respond to Melissa thanking her for this because I caught this right before we came on to record, and she'd sent a response, and I thanked her and let her know we appreciate the feedback. And she messaged back with a little bit more feedback, talking about mainly that I'm right, that she thinks I'm right. So, Melissa, you officially have become my favorite person on the planet. So keep those your rights coming. And y'all, we love this. Thank you so much. When we say if somebody knows something more than we do, let us know, because this is how you learn. This is how you grow. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, feedback is quickly becoming my favorite part of all of our episodes.
Oh, yeah. I get so excited when I start seeing emails and stuff come in. All right, Miss Ellen. So you sent us some pretty cool feedback on episode 9, but we had already recorded. So you want to just dive in and tell us what you thought about episode 9 before we head into episode 10?
Thank you. I felt like Robbie's friend Duke, there was going to be something that maybe got in Robbie's head about maybe the sabbatical was not the best idea. And then we saw it with this episode where he mentions like riding after 12 hours of work is not safe, and then possibly getting a bad diagnosis. I don't know if that's going to spiral Robbie even more. It's something I feel like he's not going to go on that sabbatical, but I don't think it's out of he's going to crash, or I just think it's going to end up being
I'm really interested to see what you guys think after this week about that.
Yeah.
I think there's a sabbatical coming, but probably not the motorcycle trip. I think it might just be more of a break, like
mental institution.
Mental health.
Yeah.
Break. Mohan's going to sign the paperwork.
Yeah, let's save this talk for when we get into the episode, because I have a lot to say about dear Robbie in this episode.
Yeah, some of this bleeds into this episode, so I don't want to take up too much time with episode 9. I just thought that we're starting to see other characters escalate besides Robbie, like Mohan. I thought Mel might kind of start to come down after the deposition, and well, misdiagnosis on that one.
I have thoughts on that too. Yeah.
And then Santos, I feel like Robbie is parallels with those two. And maybe Robbie is a little bit of a red herring, and because his stuff is really more in your face. There's some more subtle clues with Santos that she's heading for.
I'm biting my finger, Ellen, because
this is going to be such a great episode talk. I can't wait. We're all, y'all can't see us, but we're all giving each other the face as Ellen is sharing her thoughts. This is going to be such a great episode. All right. Well, as we said, we appreciate all y'all for the feedback, and please continue to write in. I don't care if you want to write in. If you just found us and are just starting the Pitt and are going back to season 1 and want to share your thoughts, whatever it is, please write in and let us know. We love to hear from you guys. So episode 10 was written by Cimarron by Dwan and directed by Damian Milano.
Is he the one who wears the big hat?
Yep.
See? I love that guy.
I do too. I'm dying to get him on here, but maybe one day.
More than anything, we just love saying his name.
Right. I want to get him saying his name like we say his name.
Yeah. We would just insert that for every episode going forward. Oh, that's the dream, man. Okay, the synopsis for this episode. Victims of the water slide arrive at PTMC. Javati, reeling from her earlier mistake, is reprimanded by her mother. Mohan suffers a panic attack, which Robbie handles badly,
Uh-huh.
to say the least.
Understatement.
Santos's belligerent attitude toward Langdon causes friction.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
Yeah. Returning from her deposition, Mel is shocked when Becca admits that she has a boyfriend and is sexually active. Robbie's motorcyclist friend Duke arrives, and cancer patient Roxy prepares to say goodbye.
Oof.
I just want everybody to know I sat on the bed after my second watch and I could not watch this any more than twice
Mm.
and just cried. I just cried. I am grieving Roxy like she's real and it's freaky. But anyway,
Yeah.
Well, it's just the worst time in the world for you to have to.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we both love doing this, and it's what we look forward to it every week. And maybe in a way, it's cathartic for you. But I hate that this storyline is going on this particular season.
Yeah.
It's just a lot.
My mother's undergoing cancer treatment right now
Oh,
as well. And she was in the hospital last week. So watching this, some of the scenes were just, it was difficult. It was good. It was good in some ways, therapeutic in some ways, but challenging also.
I 100% am right there with you on that one.
Mm. Before we all start crying, let's start with Santos.
Yes, let's start with this and then end with tears. Okay, wow. So only have two main points this week. The second main point kind of wraps up the majority of the episode. I was like, look at us keeping it short. And then I realized that's like 17 people in one point. But anyway, we start with Santos. Wow, this was very interesting. So we start with her when Dr. Al has her come on to assist Dr. Langdon. And her face said everything anyone might, if you had a question on how she feels, there it comes. So we get the dad with the chest trauma, and I thank the show writers for giving us another degloving because one wasn't enough.
One of my notes here is stop degloving things.
Right?
We've seen enough.
I will say I do want to give credit both for this one and the leg portion, which we'll get to. But man, some amazing prosthetic work.
Just insane.
It's so amazing. But I wrote here in my notes, and then we can discuss. Okay, Santos was giving, and I put in bold letters, attitude to everything Langdon said. I get that she's mad, but I think that she was being unprofessional when he was encouraging the patient to hang in there, because this poor guy doesn't know where his kid is, right? He just dropped him because he couldn't hold on to him anymore. I didn't feel like that was necessary. And then everything Langdon said, the eye rolling, side glances, the snippy content, disagreeing with patient care, you could just tell she didn't want to listen or take directions from Langdon. But here's what I do want to add. I empathize with where she is, because it cannot be easy working with someone, especially a superior, who you discovered had a drug addiction. You did the right thing by reporting it. And I wrote here that my last note on before we get into Garcia and Santos is that he really needs to talk to her about this sooner rather than later. But I do feel like her attitude was really unprofessional in this episode.
Yeah, I agree. She was crazy bad. I mean, just like Santos to the nth degree with him. And it was unprofessional, which it's very telling that it's only with him that she is being the worst version of herself for the most part this season. I think that him not apologizing yet and them not clearing the air about that is definitely part of it. But again, in the same way that I think that Langdon should probably wait to have those conversations with Robbie, Santos needs to just pull her big girl panties up and just deal with the fact that she's got to work with somebody she doesn't care for very much and address this at some other time. But this is why I was biting my tongue, Ellen. I think you are 100% right that some of this is a misdirection with Robbie. Not just with Santos. We're going to talk about another way I think that they're kind of misdirecting us with Robbie's obvious crisis. You know, like Garcia was so hateful to her. every time that she interacted with her, and has already done this a couple of times this season. And I wrote in my notes, Garcia is to Santos is the human version of Santos's cutting. I think that Santos has a real self-destructive and self-loathing streak.
Wow.
That relationship is the way that she is punishing herself.
Look at you. I didn't even think about that.
Because I'm trying to figure out, like, what is the appeal here? Because we saw, and I know it kind of bleeds over a little bit with Garcia, because she was, God, I love you, Mets, man.
I know, she's so good.
She is, because she's just, that is not her in real life at all. But I am hating Garcia lately. And I know that she is a lot like Santos, and she's probably got her backstory, and I hope that we get to see that, because it'll be more Mets. But just on the surface, there is a ginormous power imbalance, and she is doing the exact same shit that she is judging Santos for doing, and she's
Thank
older.
you. That was one of my takeaways was, and I'm a big Santos fan. She was absolutely being so unprofessional. I was cringing. I'm like, oh, come on, pull it together. But on the personal side, I get where that came from. But on the professional side, like, ooh, because that only makes her look bad. It's not making Langdon look bad like she wanted. It's making her look bad. And that's going to be a detriment to her standing or her career at the hospital.
Right.
And Garcia, of all people to like talk about decorum, I was like, and I love Garcia. She's entertaining, I think she's great fun to watch as a character. But I was sitting there like, you who like walks in and swears at people and snaps at underlings and snaps at the attendings, and you practically jumped Santos's bones in front of patients and colleagues like the whole season. But you're the one who's going to give a decorum.
Right. Just so so much hypocrisy.
So I was just like, oh, no, I don't think so.
I think that is whatever Santos's trauma is, that I think that she feels like that is what she deserves.
Like a punishment almost.
That's what I was going to say. When you said that, you brought this up, I didn't think about that going into it. I just looked at it as a young girl attracted to somebody, and this somebody isn't into her. But it makes sense that this would be her choice of a relationship, because I look at my past and how my past shaped my choices and my relationships for a long time before I got therapy and realized what I was worth.
Yeah.
I could see that being exactly what she's doing.
Yeah. I just wanted to add quickly, there is a power imbalance in the workplace in a certain sense. They're not in the same department. Garcia's not a direct supervisor. But I feel like the power imbalance bleeds over into the relationship, because it's Garcia's set, like, I made other plans, rain check. She's kind of controlling everything. We're just keeping it casual. Yeah. If you want to have sex and snacks, cool. But if you want to talk about your feelings, no. Like, it's all kind of Garcia's rules from what we've seen so far. And I feel like Santos, with her issues with authority and her trauma issues, is just kind of maybe not kowtowing to Garcia, but she might be a little meek with that and kind of letting her steamroll her.
Think she just thinks that's what love's supposed to look like. I feel like at some point we're going to find out that that's part of Santos's backstory is probably some difficult relationships with maybe her mom or, other authority figures. And I just think that she is basically punishing herself by staying in that relationship. And I think that's part of her unraveling, or at least it is a symptom of how unhealthy she is psychologically right now.
And one thing I thought of, I did a recording earlier. It just kind of hit me, generally speaking. I like Langdon this year. I'm rooting for his recovery. I like them. I like them both. I think that's rare. But audience-wise, I feel like Langdon is defined by his good, redeemable qualities, and some of his asshole qualities get downplayed or overlooked entirely. And I feel like it's the opposite with Santos. Like, she's defined by her asshole qualities to the point where her good moments get either ignored or downplayed.
I think that's because she's a female character.
Yes.
I think if you swapped their characters,
Mm-hmm.
some people would be saying what
Right.
they're saying about Santos. They would be saying it about Langdon if they had switched those
Yeah.
roles.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about that in season 1.
Yeah.
I want to bring this up just because it's funny, but I always didn't because I don't want it to come across like I'm defending the way that she was talking to Langdon in this episode. I'm absolutely not. God knows everybody knows I love Santos, but she was 100% unprofessional and in the wrong in that. However, when he said, I would be happy to teach Dr. Santos, come on, man, that's messy.
Yeah, he wasn't. There were a couple of moments where I was like, Langdon, you are not helping the cause here, not helping yourself. And I do want to say, as much as we're bashing Garcia's treatment of Santos, which was horrid, I do think she got a couple of good one-liners in there.
Yeah.
She says,
She wasn't wrong.
when Langdon says, you're a little late to the show, Yo-Yo, and not YOLO, which I typed in my notes. She says, I am the show, Dr. Langdon. You're the warm-up act. And then when she caught the tension that was going on between the two of them, and she's like, no sign of tension, at least no tension, Numo. Well done, Metz, on those deliveries.
That was funny. And that's the jacked up thing about all this. I'm going to get into this later on when we talk about Robbie and Mohan too. Talk about wrong messenger, kind of right message. The way that Garcia spoke to her was completely in the wrong, but she's not wrong. What she told Santos about how she needs to handle this situation, she was 100% right about that. It just was shitty the way that she did it. Yeah. And I don't know that that message necessarily needs to come from her either, considering that she's sleeping with Santos.
I wonder how many times Santos, I can't. See, this is where this messes me up. I was just sitting here thinking, I wonder how many times Santos has vented to Garcia about Langdon in their private time. But I am realizing this is still one day and they haven't had any private time since Langdon came back. But that still doesn't mean she hasn't been venting to her before. And Garcia's like, I can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
But one thing that I did not care for, and this hurt my feelings for Santos, is I can only imagine, knowing what we know about Santos, how hard it was for her to be that blatantly honest about why she's upset. Yeah. And then Garcia, not that Garcia needed to get the broomstick out and give her their patting on the back, which I feel like is how Garcia would care for you if you were a friend in need.
I think she should have. She should have been more empathetic.
But she should have. She did need to respond the way she did and be like, you want, like you said, Ellen, you want ramen and sex. I'm your girl. You need something. You want to talk about this shit. Go get therapy. I felt that was just shitty, because that made me hurt for Santos, knowing how hard it was for her, to say what she's feeling emotionally.
Yeah.
I also question how much has Santos been able to even get out, because what we've seen on screen twice in season 1, like when Langdon comes up, she tells Santos, do your job. Then she's trouble. And then we saw this scene. So I question, like, has Santos really been able to even talk about this with her?
Or does she get shut down?
Because we've seen it on screen that she gets shut down
every time.
So it stands to reason that maybe this is just something that gets shut down.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think that just goes back to this is an incredibly toxic relationship.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder what the attraction is there. I think it's just some kind of lingering self-esteem issues that Santos has that makes her think that that's the kind of relationship looks like love. So
that's what a quote unquote normal relationship looks like to her. I get that in my soul.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on Dr. Santos and Dr. Langdon?
Nah.
All right. Let's move into the other quote unquote short main point. So this is Robbie, Ogilvy, Mohan, and Dr. Al.
Hark a shark.
All right. Yep. Robbie still pissed me off with Langdon. Langdon is like, there's traumas coming in, and Langdon's like, I can help. And Robbie, it's the fact that Robbie, he looks at him, cuts him off before he can even finish his sentence, and then stares at him while he says, Ogilvy, get suited up, you're coming with me.
Yeah.
How is that helping anything? We get it, Robbie.
I don't know, but how mad do you have to be that you'd prefer Ogilvy?
Right.
That's what I was thinking too. Like,
And
oh,
I'm
shit.
like, if I were Langdon, I'd be like, oh shit.
Ouch.
If Langdon wasn't sure, even though Robbie said, I don't know if I want you working here anymore. If he wasn't sure Robbie meant that, when he took Ogilvy to the roof, I feel like he knows.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know if this is the best place to bring it up or not, but I think it is. Here's a weird thing that I've noticed the last couple of episodes. Langdon has gone from the first 5 or 6 episodes of this season being like frantic to have conversations and try to apologize and work the steps and all of that. But it's almost like he's become like zen over the last 2 episodes.
You know what I think it is? That episode where maybe it's last episode. God, this show feels like 7 years ago, where McKay talked to him about sobriety and he saw that there is a future. I think that because his confidence level was up in this episode, his communication was up in this episode. I really, really think that McKay gave him a glimmer of hope that he can have a future as a sober person. And I think it's helped him. Not that he's not still wanting to make things right with Robbie. And I still truly believe there's going to come a moment by the end of this season, I hope, where he gets to apologize and thank Santos for saving helping save his career. But that's why I think you're seeing a shift in Langdon is solely because of that conversation that McKay had with him.
That would make sense.
No, it makes sense. A lot of sense.
I think as much as I don't necessarily think he should be having the 12-step conversations in the middle of the shift, I'm ready for him to snap off and tell people he's got this and that he is a full-ass doctor and he doesn't need to be treated like a child. Like, I definitely think that needs to come quickly. Like, I would have already snapped if I were him and told people to back the fuck up.
I think it's more realistic, too, in a narrative way that everybody except for Robbie and Santos have been pretty much welcome him back with open arms. I think it makes sense that there would be a couple of people that are just kind of like slow your roll because it is one day.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the first day they're seeing him.
Right.
And they didn't know they
weren't expecting it.
They weren't expecting him. So to expect the people that were the 2 people who were most impacted by him to just be like, oh, okay, I'm over it. I
think that's unrealistic.
It's unrealistic. Right. Yeah. And, you know, recovery is not just one and done. I see a lot of people like Langdon went to recovery. He paid his dues and now everyone should accept, you know, recovery is not linear. It's like, it's life. It's a long-term process. So I think it's perfectly reasonable for some of the characters to be like, prove it. I need to see you more than just one day to think that, like, you know.
Yeah, I agree. But I do still think, like, looking at it, you know, intersectionally and thinking about it from Langdon's point of view, at this point, were I him, I absolutely would have already snapped off on some people and said, look, we need to talk later, but right now I'm a doctor and this is my job and I need you to respect me and
back me up. Help us help these patients. This isn't about us right now. This is about these patients.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Next note is I want to write a book called Ogilvy and the Severed Leg.
Oh man. Oh, they handed him that leg.
Ogilvy went from 0.01% on the personality scale for me to 0.6% on the personality scale this week.
That's fair.
A little bit of growth. I loved when he's on the roof with Robbie and he's talking about how different his time at an ER in Vermont was versus here. And Robbie says it's not for everyone. And Ogilvy's like, I don't think it's healthy for anybody. And then the leg dude comes off the helicopter and literally drops a severed leg. And he's like, Jesus, and then the shots of him all throughout the trauma holding that daggum leg.
Did you notice he was rocking it like a baby?
Yes. I was like, oh, see, I didn't want to like you, Ogilvy, but you're growing on me just a tiny bit. But I thought all of that shenanigans was hilarious. But I love that this med student absolutely, obviously has something going on that keeps him from reading the room, schooled Robbie on none of this shit is healthy.
Yeah.
Right. And that line, I don't want us to run past that because that line was the theme of this season.
Oh, yeah.
Because talking about Mohan, I texted Becky right after I watched that, like, I had some thoughts about Mohan. And quite honestly, and this is not going to win me any friends, but just bear with me. Initially, I absolutely was on Robbie's side when he went off on her. I've had panic attacks in the workforce. I completely understand what that feeling. I've had like literally that type of panic attack. But at the same time, it's like you're in an ER and we've got people's legs severed out here. We don't have time to get upset about your mom. However, immediately after I had that thought, and I had that thought mostly because I realized that's because I'm not incredibly healthy in the way that I deal with really stressful situations. I have that tendency to shove things really far down to get through the moment, and can sometimes be an asshole because of the fact that I am suppressing everything inside of me that I should probably deal with in a better way. So again, my gut instinct at first was to be like, come on, Mohan, seriously, your mom's calling and you're having a panic attack. But then realize that is because I tend to act like Robbie sometimes in certain situations. I thought that the way that McKay explained to, who was it that she was talking to when Javadi. That is how Robbie should have handled that.
It is a classic case of it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And
Exactly.
Robbie could use a lesson. Like, I wanted to look at Robbie and be like, put your fucking hand down, Ogilvy. But speaking of, when he told, okay, I'm all for Ogilvy getting put in his place. But when Ogilvy, the patient, was asking about her leg, is it broken? And Ogilvy started to say, I wouldn't say broken exactly. And Robbie's like, blah, 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 keep your fucking mouth shut.
Yeah. That's not
That was not professional, and that was not cool.
No. And like I said, Ogilvy had the line of the season. None of this is healthy. And that's, I guess, this unexpectedly got me going pretty deep in my admittedly kind of shallow brain sometimes, because I started thinking like, yeah, Robbie's not wrong. Mohan needs to learn to if she's going to stay in the ER, she's got to learn to get a thicker skin and learn the way that McKay so beautifully put it, to put some distance between her and her patients. But at the same time, it really got me thinking about American medicine and how we do things, and just how underfunded and understaffed, and that it then is destroying our doctors.
Yeah.
Because they're being asked in certain situations to live these traumas constantly, day in and day out. It's not healthy for anyone.
Nope.
There's a lot of just suck it up and deal. Like, pull your big girl's panties up and deal.
Right.
And like, yeah, maybe that you can do that for so long, but we're seeing like people reaching their breaking points over that mentality. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we've got at least 3 different people, and there 4 characters that I can think of that are seconds away from just a complete and total meltdown. And it comes very much from that just suck it up and deal with it mentality, because you can, like you just said, you can only do that so long and so many times before you are a Robbie and you're about to.
Yeah. And, we saw Robbie really lay into Langdon last year, like shame and humiliation. That's not how we teach.
Right.
And that's what he's doing. That's a great point, Ellen.
And he had a breakdown. He had a panic attack last year too, So it was like, Robbie, I like everyone on the show. And even when they're acting like assholes, I look underneath. I'm like, oh, this is because they're having a mental health crisis or this unresolved trauma. I get that. But like in the moment when I was watching that, I was like, it was kind of that same Garcia reaction. Like, you of all people are saying this to someone. Like,
our friend Sam pointed out something really interesting too about the scene where that Robbie looked to the one friendly moment he has with Langdon in the entire season so far is when he is looking at him and laughing about Mohan and what's going on with her. The only other man in the room. There are a bunch of women, and he looks to the other man in the room to kind of make this, gee, aren't women silly kind of face. And Sam pointed out that, and Becky and I have both said this before, Robbie's a little bit of a sexist sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't know if it's deliberately written into the character to make people see that he, even though he's this great guy, that he can be a little bit sexist, or if it's just an unintended consequence of the plotline. I think it's deliberate. I think that they are aware.
I think so too. I think it's like purposely challenging people's biases or to notice something like that. And, you know, he's not this raging sexist in the way that, you know, you would see other characters say, you know, women can't do this.
He's not a Mad Men kind of misogynist, but he does definitely
has gender bias going on with his folks.
Since we're on this road, let's just stay on it and then we can come back to the other couple of notes in there. Dr. Al, man, she is,
I love her,
quickly becoming, I feel like Mel is always going to be my number one. I just love Mel, but my number two varies from week to week. And this week it's Dr. Al.
Oh, yeah.
I loved how she let it all out with him and pulled him aside, and he's making excuses for the way he talked to Mohan. And she says, what about you? What do you need to get some basic human empathy back? And his smart ass comment was, well, I'll just worry. I guess I'll just worry about if this is, you know, all going to fall apart while I'm gone. And I'm like, I don't think Robbie would have said that if Abbott had said that to him about basic human empathy. He would have swatted him on the shoulder. I said it in C's episode 1. I think they cast Dr. Al-Hashimi as a female for a reason. And I think it is to highlight the misogyny that Robbie has. And I want to say credit to the writers and producers of this show, because it is ballsy to take your star character and make them have unlikable qualities.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I love that Noah Wiley is on board for it. I love that he's acting his ass off with it. And I love that they are doing it, because just the conversation that we're having right now is eye-opening and educating. And I think nothing they do is unintentional, and I'm here for all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that interaction with Dr. Al, but you're 100% right. That was another situation where I think he would have reacted differently if it were Abbott that were trying to call him in about that type of thing. And her response was perfect, like, you know, pointing out you're having a series-long panic attack.
Yeah.
Again, that really like stopped me for a moment and made me examine like how I react to things about laying into somebody for having a panic attack when I have fully had a panic attack at work and not in an ER, just waiting tables. So I think that you're right, Becky. That's the brilliance of the show, is that it makes you really think about the layers of what's going on with all of these people and what this environment is doing to them and what it's bringing out in them.
So Park the Shark,
Love him.
Cannot stand this guy.
Oh my God, I love the character.
I am the one person who does, and I wrote here in my notes, Park the Shark, kudos. I love that that's Lou Ferrigno's son. If you don't, if you don't know Lou Ferrigno, look him up. Incredible Hulk, amazing. But I wrote here in my notes, I need to ask the medical peeps, was this an accurate portrayal of a surgeon with that specialty, or was that over the top? Because it felt over the top for me for this show. Like, if that dude had walked in on Grey's Anatomy, I would have been like, yes. But on the Pitt, it felt like it was fluff, and that is not what the Pitt gives us. And I just didn't like it.
Really?
I am kind of in the middle on that. I feel like it just solidified. The surgeons are kind of bitches. I don't mean that in a bad, like Shamsi, Garcia. They're hard edged. I love them as characters, but I'm like, I would be afraid. Like, if Santos goes into surgery, she'll be the nicest one in the room. And that's kind of like, whoa. Right? Like, okay. But I hear a lot of chatter like, oh, the surgeons with the God complex. So I don't know if they're playing into the polar extreme.
I get that. It just felt fluffy to campy. That's a better word than fluff. It felt campy, and this show isn't campy. And so this moment and then another moment a little bit later took me out just a smidge, but not enough to ruin it. But it bothered me. I didn't like it. Maybe my bias is showing, because I love when Garcia busts in all badass, but it seemed cheesy the way he was this big, burly, handsome man who comes in and parks the shark.
And he's just so condescending. I think
had they just called him by his name, it may have softened. I don't know. It just felt campy, fluffy, cheesy. It didn't sit with me very well.
Oh my God, I just had a thought.
That hurt, didn't it?
It was painful. So a couple things. I'm actually kind of, I think, seeing what you're saying about him being campy, because I 100% was thinking you could have had the Jaws theme song playing behind him when he came in.
Yes.
And it would have been appropriate. It doesn't bother me as much because I just felt like it was kind of just a little moment, and they've had other funny little moments.
A little levity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't really see a problem with the fact that he was an asshole either, because again, that's been a theme with the surgeons throughout both seasons, is that the surgeons are assholes. So I just felt like they were continuing with that theme. But I just realized I don't know if I'm gonna be able to express it right, but I guarantee you that whoever wrote that plot line, the leg being severed and him being called Park the Shark are not incompatible. Like, that absolutely had to do with.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I kept thinking of was Jaws, and there's scenes of, floating limbs after the shark bites off. Right. So I am thinking that is part of why they decided to call him Park the Shark. I think he's hot.
Girl, I love a hot dude. I was not mad that a hot dude was on my screen. He didn't,
dick,
the way it all played out just felt campy.
I can see where you're coming from now. Yeah, I absolutely can see it now. It didn't bother me. I think it was a much needed moment of levity, and that the way that
Whitaker and Ogilvy were looking at him, like, it reminded me of like two little boys who get to see boobies for the first time. That's what they looked like to me, watching him work with that leg.
Yeah. When it was that he said, he still has to look at it.
Right. Yeah.
You can tell that Whitaker and Park the Shark have had moments in the past where Whitaker has learned to be afraid of the shark entering the water. He had that look.
Whitaker's like, saline, and then he's like, I knew he meant saline.
Yeah, saline numbnuts. Oh God, that was funny.
Before we move on with the leg patient, I just wrote here, imagine waking up and seeing your leg lying next to you. And was that really consent that she gave?
Yeah, was it really?
But I'm also like, at that point, they are really against the clock here.
Yeah.
And I don't completely judge that it didn't seem fully ethical, but I'm like, she said put it back on. So there you go.
See, this is why I couldn't be a doctor, because I'll just go on and...
Oh, hell no. Malpractice would have said, look, get out.
Yeah.
This is not the job for you. But I want to give props to Dr. Al for how she handled the kid that came in, that badass slash trach. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
And she looked so nervous doing it. But even while she's doing a procedure we then find out that she's never done before, she's still teaching these kids.
Yeah.
Love her.
And that was the first genuine moment of respect I think I've seen on Robbie's face this entire season.
There was a moment when Garcia comes down and says, when the Garcia made that snide comment about, well, I'm sure they'll enjoy cleaning up your mess. And she said, or maybe they'll thank us for not letting him die, and turned and walked out. The way Robbie was looking at her, I wrote here, Robbie legit just fell in love with her.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. He definitely had a
Ooh.
girl look on his face. And I want to point out again, Garcia, hypocrite much? Like, you want to lecture people and tell Santos that she's a pariah because of the way that she talks to people. Hello?
Yeah.
Like, that was not your call to say something like that.
Yeah.
To an attending, to your colleague, like you're
You just saved this kid's life.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell Garcia to put her fucking hand down.
Yeah.
And read the room, Gloria. Read the room, Garcia.
Yeah. Yeah, that was some shit.
Yeah. I think that was the first procedure we saw Al Hashimi do.
By herself, yeah, like the directed, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
there have been things she's assisted with, but that was the first one that she
led.
Yeah,
And she nailed it. She
did.
She's grown on me.
Yeah,
I think
same.
we all started this season with this expectation that she was going to get into a blind panic when everything hit the wall for the first episode, or maybe not even the full first episode, because I think we started to get her measure pretty quickly. But again, we all started thinking she was gonna crumble a little bit in the ER and get humbled because of her dedication to AI and things like that. And I have never been so happy to be wrong, because I'm loving this character.
Yes.
Same.
I want to give a quick shout out to Supriya Ganesh and the way she acted out the progression of her panic attack. I thought the directing and sound editing were so good to show it from her point of view. When she was walking through triage and the patients are closing in on her and their voices are all distorted, I was like, this is like a horror show. Like, this is like, that felt like I felt the horror that she was feeling in her body, because like Mandy, I thought I was having a heart attack one night, but it turns out it was a panic attack. And it's very scary. But I just want to say, Robbie, that was not an apology.
No.
That's like telling someone you hurt my feelings and they answer back with, if you felt that way, I'm sorry.
Yes.
It was weak.
And I can't believe she let him get away with it.
I think right now she's so
befuddled.
Yeah.
Like, all I kept thinking, and I think we've talked about it before, but it really hit home. Something I feel like is going on beyond just what we already know with Garcia and her personal, not Garcia, sorry, Mohan. It's almost like she's a different character this season.
It's
different.
weird.
Yeah.
At first, I thought that was like a misfire, like on the part of the writers, that they just didn't continue with that character's original personality. But now I'm thinking that she is, again, one of those people who is more quietly unraveling than Robbie is. And that there's something bigger going on under the surface, i.e., like maybe she's coming to understand that she doesn't need to be in the ER, that it's making her someone that she does not like. Just seeing her speak the way she did to the elderly woman after all of the times that she has just been so kind and patient and all of that, I think it shook her. And she is hopefully, unlike Robbie, going to realize this is making me somebody that I don't want to be.
Yeah, I feel like she's just kind of lost. Like, she had a plan to move back home, and then that it went to shit. And then it's just, having a panic attack, and her mother keeps calling her. So now I'm wondering, is there something wrong at home? Like, is there? Because the mother keeps calling.
I think mom got herself in another messed up situation, because I said it earlier that I think Mohan was going to be closer to her mom because her mom needs help.
Yeah.
And I think her mom, it sounds to me kind of like her mom probably has had lots of boyfriends that have come in and out of the house, probably some that have taken advantage of her. In my head, I'm picturing her mom getting the phone call from the guy who wants to marry her. But first he needs her to send him $50,000.
Did she give him money or something? That was one of my thoughts too. Like,
the bomb dropped and boyfriend isn't there, and now she needs her daughter. I just feel like it's more than Mohan last week just realized, oh, my mom is just lonely. I feel like there's more of a reason why she's so frustrated and irritated with her mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Something else is going on there, I think.
Yeah, she just seems like she had a plan and now she doesn't. And when we were just talking about Robbie's shitty apology, she just kind of took it. And I get that feeling of, because Robbie's had a little bit of sketchiness with her last year. He was a little hard on her. And I almost felt like there was just that resignation of like, this is just how he's going to treat me. And there was a line, I think it was in this episode, it might have been 9, but she's looking for Abbott for a recommendation. She doesn't even work on his shift, but she asked for Abbott to write her a recommendation because so she knows like Robbie's not the one to go to for these type of things.
That's an excellent point.
Mm-hmm.
For her anyway.
Feels like to me that she's just coming to the realization that this place is, I think she's going to come to it. Whereas Robbie seems just bound and determined to never learn the lesson that the way that ER is run is not good for her mental health.
Right. Like Ogilvy said, it's not good for anyone.
Yeah.
Ogilvy, the voice of reason. What?
We didn't see that coming.
0.06, y'all. He's growing. And by the end of this episode, I might be up to 0.08.
Woo.
All right. So Duke, we meet Duke, the amazing Jeff Kober. The scope procedure was pretty cool. Everything looked fine, but they're going to do a chest x-ray. I just don't agree. I don't agree. I feel like this is going to be a bad thing. And I want to hear your all's thoughts because he's the most important thing that he said the entire time he was there is only an idiot would ride all night after working a 12-hour day. So you feel like that's a miscue, or that what we thought was going to be a motorcycle accident is a misdirect?
I think it's a misdirect.
I don't know yet exactly where they're going with Robbie's situation. I don't think Robbie's leaving the show, so I don't think he's going to die. But I had a thought about this situation with Duke. Now that we know that Duke is a man that Robbie met fairly recently, because he said, I'm assuming when he said he brought the bike in 6 months ago, get it worked on, that's when they became friends. And already Robbie has become so attached to this man that before he leaves, he wants him to come in and get a full health workup to find out what's going on because he's concerned about it. It made me think that there is something to this idea that Robbie has moved from passive suicidal ideation to an actual plan. Because my thought was that this is he wanted to make sure before he did whatever he plans to do, because he wasn't going to be there anymore going forward. He suspects something's wrong with Duke and he wants Duke to get health care. It felt very much like this is something that Robbie is checking off of his list. And now all of this about him ear hustling in the ER over and over is starting to feel like he is trying to convince himself to go ahead and commit because the ER
will survive without him.
Right. And what is keeping him and what I could see potentially, and I don't know how healthy this is, but what could keep him here is this idea that he has to be the one to be there to save everybody because no one's going to do it the way that he does. But the Duke thing, for whatever reason, does make me personally feel like Robbie has moved past passive suicidal ideation to he's got some kind of bad plan for himself.
Ellen, what was it could be the misdirect?
But that Robbie's going to get in a motorcycle accident.
Gotcha.
I don't think he's going to get into a literal crash. I think his crash is metaphorical, You
don't think he's even going to make it onto the sabbatical?
I feel like he's going to take time off because he has it all. He's prepared, with administration. He's got the time off. But I just question whether he's going to use that time off on the motorcycle or if he's just going to be closer to home, but I don't know how to explain it.
I know what you mean. And I see your vision, I think, Ellen. What I am hoping is that whatever come to Jesus meeting Robbie's got ahead of him, it's going to end up him taking that time to really, truly get mental help.
What if it's Langdon that
signs the form?
Not sign. Well, yeah, I know. But I know. I see what you're saying. But yeah, what if it's Langdon that gives it right back to Robbie? It's like, you need help.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I could see that.
I would like to see that come full circle
Yeah.
in
I
the
feel like,
ambulance bay.
I don't know, man. I feel like, I don't know what it would take for Robbie to really, because like on the one hand, part of me is thinking, well, like, is it going to be that he loses somebody that's close to him? But I feel like that would be more likely to
Set him
push
off.
him over the
Set him
edge.
off, yeah.
So it feels like it's going to have to be a conversation that someone in the very small handful of people that he likes and respects, Dana, it's got to be Dana, because Dana doesn't enable him. She never enables him, but she also doesn't nag him. And I feel like if Dana were to finally break and be like, you need help, we need you here, and you cannot do this if you are not healthy. I feel like it's going to be Dana. I'm calling it now.
So good call.
I'm calling it as Langdon. Mandy says Dana. I say Langdon.
I feel like you could very much be right. I just don't know if he would listen to Langdon the same way that
Yeah.
he would Dana.
I think it depends on how it all comes to play.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when you're in that kind of that frame of mind, sometimes the person you least want to hear from is the one who gets through.
Yeah, could be. So I'm like now on the edge of my seat. Like we're in the home stretch. I'm ready to see how they're going to land this plane.
I could see either Dana or Langdon. I don't know. Maybe I'll decide next week.
Okay. Yeah. Well, keep the feedback coming and let us know how you're feeling through the remainder of these episodes. All right. Anything else on the main points?
Nah.
All right. Let's move into chart notes. We start with Mel, Becca, and Langdon. Becca's adorableness when she told him he was longer than a minute, like he said. And then when he has to leave and he starts to say, I'll be back in a minute. And she points her little finger and is like, don't say a minute if you don't mean it. I just adore her. I adore I believe it's pronounced Tall, the young lady who's playing this character. She is doing such a great job. And I love how they continue to work with this. I liked that Langdon did not give Mel her diagnosis, that he stuck with HIPAA laws, which shows that this is a competent young woman who can make her own choices and her own decisions, which I hope means that the fact that the big reveal that she's having sex, I need this to not be her being taken advantage of. I need this to be a young woman, obviously knows what sex is and how it feels to her, and it's good, and she has a boyfriend. I need this to be a healthy relationship and more teaching Mel that she's got to get a life outside of her sister because her sister is living her life. I need it to not be her being abused. I need that to not be the storyline.
I agree. And I don't think they're going to go that way. I think it's going to be more, she has full body autonomy. You know, just because she's on the autism spectrum doesn't mean she doesn't have that autonomy.
Right.
And I think it's more, like you said, make Mel be a little more introspective about her whole life revolves around Becca. And she doesn't really have a lot of friends. And, it doesn't seem like she is really interested in having a relationship. I mean, she's got a little mentor admiration, maybe crush, I don't know, on Langdon, but I don't know if I think it's more of a admiration thing than a romantic crush on him.
I tend to think it's like a sibling thing, mostly because interview I saw with Taylor Dearden where she was talking about their relationship. And according to Taylor Dearden, and this was last season, she doesn't feel like it's in any way sexual, that their relationship. She said she kind of feels like that Mel is, in her mind, asexual, perhaps. And that it's just like almost like a duckling imprinting on a swan or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't see them being.
Well, he's married
romantic.
for one thing. So even if she had a little bit of a crush, I just don't think that the show
would muddy the waters like that.
Becky, I didn't even think about abuse. It could be the story they tell. I hope it's not, even though I trust them.
I trust them to, like you said, let this character continue to be a normal woman.
Yeah.
Who has wants and needs and loves, has boyfriends, and let that set her sister on a path that you need to get a life that's not me.
Yeah, I hope that's the story they're telling. Although, caveat, I trust the writers pretty well. So if they go in that other direction, I feel like I'm not worried that I'm going to hate that storyline, but to me, a more interesting storyline is the one that you just described, where we are seeing that this person isn't a child. She is a grown woman with perfectly healthy desires and a need for relationships outside of her sister. It does feel like that's the story they're telling, because much like we've talked about with Mohan and other people, there are things going on under the surface with King this season that are more than just her worry about the deposition. It feels like she doesn't have a life outside of work and her sister, and that it's starting to bother her, but she is not a very self-aware person. So I could see this potentially being the way that she, and I don't remember, Becky, I feel like you feel like that she does know that she is on the spectrum, Dr.
I think she does.
I don't think that she knows. And
I don't think so.
I could see her having to learn more about her own self through this, whatever is about to happen with Becca. I'm worried that what's happening next week is she's going to find out that Becca's not using protection, or she's going to freak out about that potential of her getting pregnant or whatever. But either way, I think and I hope that the storyline is going to be
a positive one.
Yeah, well, and just Mel learning to let go and trust her sister to a certain degree, to be a grown woman and to have a life outside of her, and for her to get a life outside of her sister.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's what I hoped when that whole, because at first I was like, when she said it, so many things went through my head. I was like, no way would Becca have a boyfriend and Mel not know about it by now. I thought that was a bit odd, the way they just blurted that out. It didn't seem like it fit the flow. And then I immediately went to abuse. And I was like, wait. And on second watch, I looked at it through that other lens and I was like, okay, this works. This totally works.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is an issue of people who have special needs being abused by people in positions of authority, but I just feel like that story has been told a lot. So I would like to.
Yeah. And they're doing so good at letting Becca just be Becca.
And not be a tragic story.
Not be defined by her.
Right. That her disorder.
I don't even want to say being defined by the fact that she's on the spectrum.
Yeah.
That she is. Yeah. That's what I want for her, is to just be amazing and be living a life and teaching your sister a thing or two instead of it being the other way around.
Right. Yeah. That's the more interesting storyline, I think.
Yeah.
I agree. It's the more interesting storyline. I think so too.
All right. I didn't put this last because I really didn't want us to end up in tears at the very end. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna get through this. I'm just gonna say what my notes are. And Roxy and McKay. Roxy looked so tired. I meant to look up this actress's name, but I was so busy crying that I got sidetracked. This just broke my soul. They have the talk about what giving the morphine could do. And I wrote here, Javadi is me right now by walking out. But I loved McKay going to talk to her. And I love when she said, it's not about us, it's about them. And that is so true. And it's such a complicated thing to balance when you're on the outside looking in and all you want to do is fix and help. That was just powerful. And then when McKay said how Roxy is handling this with so much grace and how that is a real gift of love. And then she talks to her son and says, when Roxy is talking to her son and, you know, he's young, I'm sure he doesn't fully understand what's happening, but she says that he's like, I don't want you to go. And she's like, we'll always be connected no matter what. And motions from her heart to his with the invisible string. And then the older son, McKay, saying, look, it's up to you, but I want you to think about going in there and saying goodbye to your mom because I don't want you to have that regret later. And then the husband was like, nope, I'm right here. I'm where I'm supposed to be. And I can't.
Yeah.
Ellen?
It's a really, I think it's a story that cancer stories are so familiar with people. I feel like there's probably more viewers than not that have a strong reaction to this story and a strong, like, can relate to it. My mother's currently undergoing cancer treatment. So, and we watched the show together. So it was a little bit of it was pretty emotional. See, I think McKay is kind of like the stealth leader of the residents.
Yeah. She's the heart.
And she has children around the same age. And I think her advice was really good. And it wasn't like demanding. It wasn't trying to guilt this young kid into going to see his mother. It was just it was advice. Like, you might regret it. If you don't say this goodbye, you might regret it. And there's like mother-daughter aspect that Javati's going through. And then it bled into this story, seeing a son who like doesn't want to say goodbye to his mother. And I think Javati even says that, like, I don't want to see my mother at all. And these kids are like, only want to see her. That was an emotional one. And the episode, when it aired on Thursday, the 12th, that was actually March 12th. This is a 3-year anniversary of when I lost my dad. So I'm watching it. They talk about Robbie's motorcycle, and my father had the same bike. He had a 69 Triumph Bonneville. And then I'm watching this with my mother and the cancer storyline, and I was just like, maybe I need to like pause this and come back to it. Just the show can really get your emotions on all these different layers from all the different characters and how they are parallel but have their own element to it too. I was just floored by it. Yeah. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I think that the only thing I really have to add to any of this, because you guys have been very generous to talk openly and honestly about what you're currently going through and how impactful it is. And it makes me think about all the probably millions of people out there who have either been through this or are currently going through something similar. So I don't really feel like, because I haven't had that experience recently. I've lost people to cancer in the fairly recent past, but right now, everybody, knock on wood, in my life, my family at least, is very healthy. That being said, the only thing I really have to add is I hope they don't show her passing. I hope that was our goodbye with Roxy.
I hope so too.
Because I feel like that was the perfect McKay giving her that dosage, her being able to determine that it was her time and that she was ready. You know, the pain had gotten to the point where if the morphine was what helped her to just pass on, then it was her time to do that. And we got to see all of that play out with her family and everyone coming to understand that it was her decision to make, and to be, if not happy, at least at peace with that. I think that we got as much as we needed for as viewers. And if they were to explicitly play out her passing, it would feel exploitative.
I agree.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the way that it was the last shot of the show when they showed the dose of the morphine going through, I think that was as poignant of an ending as we need to see.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that was where they need to end that and draw a veil over that family's, this fictional family's privacy.
Yeah.
I didn't catch the name of it, but the music at the end, loved it. I thought about Gavin, but it seemed very perfect. Like, I don't know if you guys paid attention to the outro music, but
I didn't.
It was an original composition, and the name just kind of flew across, and I didn't write it down, but I thought it was beautiful. It just was very poignant.
The actress playing Roxy, her name is Brittany Allen. She's wonderful. I looked it up, and I'm not sure I recognize her from other roles, but she was great.
Yep. She was perfect.
Anything else on that?
No.
No, I'd like to spend another 30 minutes talking about it if we possibly could.
Sure. I'm going to sit here and just be background noise.
Oh.
Yeah. Whew.
Yeah. I'm glad the storyline is wrapping up.
Yeah.
All right. So Dana and Monica. Emma is still adorable. I love how Dana is still running shit like a boss, and thought it was funny that she could read the doctor's handwriting when the other nurses couldn't.
Yeah.
And she made that comment about if it's not in the form of emojis, these youngsters don't understand it.
Yeah.
I was like, you go, Dana.
She's not wrong. My kids didn't even learn cursive.
Yeah, they don't teach it anymore.
Well, there's one school in Wilson County where I live in outside Nashville. There's one school that did teach it, and then I think that several of them don't. I think it's just kind of specific to different school systems. But because I think Ava learned, but Jackson didn't.
It's wild.
Yeah.
I loved their conversation about the gift shop people basically all being old, and then the scene of them giving them instructions
So
on
good.
what they need to do. I'm like, if that's not me and Mandy in 20 years, I don't know what is.
Same thing.
Imagine going to work, you're volunteering at the gift shop, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm running these orders around, up in the crazy ED.
Yeah, I can tell. That's why it made me think about me and Becky is we would be just like back, it'd be just like the old days. Runners up.
Yeah, here we
We're
are.
ready to go.
It may take us 45 minutes
We do.
to get 5 seconds down the road, but we are going to go.
We knew they'd call us back to the big leagues eventually.
Yeah.
I knew you'd come running back to me.
Man, the nicotine patch and girl, I laughed out loud both times that I watched that episode. The look on Catherine Lanassa's face and the look that she gave to Monica, like when they were laughing at Giovanni, that's insurance fraud. So
She's like, put me in jail. It's like a 3-year vacation. And I love only Dana could pull off a joke that prison would be better than the environment that she's currently working in.
Also, I realized where I know the actress that plays Monica. She was mismentioned from the late '90s version or mid '90s version of The Little Princess.
Oh.
Do you remember that story about the little girl that lives it's like the turn of the century, the turn of the last century. Sorry for all of us that were born in the 1900s. Her father has been lost at war, and so she's a rich kid who lives at this girls' school, but then they make her go live in the attic. She was the mean teacher in that, and that's where I knew that face from. She was a perfect mismention too. She had that scary look because I remembered when I really looked at her, I was like, oh my God, because I remember when I saw that, I thought she reminds me of Miss Thompson, my geometry teacher, and here she is playing basically the same character 30 years later.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Were you guys surprised at Dana trying to discourage Langdon from wanting to do like a GoFundMe to give Louis a proper burial? It didn't seem very Dana-like to me. Mm-hmm. I get her point that you can't do this for everybody, but this wasn't everybody. This was Louis. I know Langdon is carrying some guilt because he betrayed Louis by stealing his medication, but it makes sense to me that somebody would want to try to make sure Louis didn't end up in a pauper's grave. So I just thought it was odd Dana was discouraging him. But I love when she looked at Langdon and said, the success of your sobriety is a testament to your support system. Louis didn't have that. And then when Langdon walks away, she looks right at Robbie and says, did you hear all that?
Yes. I didn't think it was weird. And here's why. I feel like she was doing for him what you and I do for each other sometimes, Becky, where it's like you have an idea of something that you want to do. It may or may not be a great idea. And so we spitball. We do the devil's advocate thing where we stop and we really look at like, why are you wanting to do this? I didn't feel like she was really trying to talk him out of it. She was just trying to make sure that his motivation was coming from the right place. You know what I mean? Because she's not wrong. You know, that whole separation of your patients from your personal relationships. He can't
talking
do
to your wife
everybody.
First.
Right. Talking to your wife, all of that. I feel like she was just more trying to devil's advocate him and just make sure his head was in the right place and that he was doing this from a motivation that wasn't strictly like a savior complex or
Right.
guilt or anything. And I love that she correctly, I think, recognized that at least some of this was because he sees himself in Louis, and that she wanted to make sure that he understands you are not Louis. This is not how you're destined to come to an
End
end.
up.
Yeah.
And then looking at Robbie,
Yes.
who's ear hustling, of course.
Yes.
Our boy is
Again.
the ear hustler this season, and looks at him after saying your sobriety is a testament to your support
Yeah.
system. I was like, yeah, did you get all that?
Yeah.
Like, quit being a dick.
I think that was part of it, but I also think she was hoping that he heard that Langdon is trying to do something so incredibly kind and selfless for Louis.
Oh, yeah, I
too.
didn't even think about that. I just was so ready for somebody to be calling Robbie out.
No, me
That's where
too.
I didn't even think about that. That was smart. That's good.
Robbie's like the Mrs. Kravitz this season. He's
Yes.
just kind of like
Yes,
the nosy,
he is.
the nosy neighbor. He's like doing
Yes.
his double
He ought to
takes,
have
walking
like
by
some
the room.
curtains that he could just peek
He's
out.
legit me, yeah, peeking out the window when I see police cars. There used to be police cars at my next door neighbor's house. They moved, but before they moved, there was constantly police cars. And if Darren didn't think I wasn't going out on the back porch to sit,
Becky's out there vacuuming the grass and
right, yeah, I'm like, I'm about to see what's going on. All right. Next up, just real quick, Javati, bless her, getting that dressing down from her mom, and her mom basically telling her that, what did she say about
something about making it up on the fly if I make a mistake, the real professionals upstairs will clean it up.
Yeah, and calling the ED like street medicine or something.
Yeah.
Just real condescending.
Yeah.
I just wrote here, her mom's a joy.
Bitch, what if you need the ER one day? What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you mean street medicine? It's a freaking shit show down there. You are privileged up there in your ivory tower. But medicine starts most crucially when it is an emergency. And sometimes that means that you have to be smart enough to think on the fly, not, your gold encrusted rule book up in your ivory tower where everybody's sipping lattes and getting massages in between. I wrote down, I think that Dr. Shamsi is my least favorite character. The actress is phenomenal.
Right.
Love her. But I think I hate Dr. Shamsi more than any other character on the show.
It's because she's mean to her daughter.
It's because she's mean to her
there's
kid.
other coworkers or colleagues, and like we don't like when Robbie's mean to Mohan, but it's her daughter. And I always look for parallels in the episodes, and there's a sort of thing I just thought of, like, these people have needs and they're looking to the wrong people.
Mm-hmm.
Like Santos isn't going to get help from Garcia. Javati's not going to get that support from her mom. Mohan's not going to get that support from Robbie. They need to be looking somewhere else for what they need.
Yeah.
Well, to your point, when she sees her mom, before mom basically just tears her down, you could tell she's reeling from what just happened with Roxy.
Right.
And it's like, Mom, I'm so glad to see you, or something like that.
She was going to tell her she
looking forward
loved
to
her.
seeing you, or she was excited. And then that's what she gets. And I also thought it was funny that Joy outed her as an influencer, and Ogilvy's absolute laugh of joy at Joy outing Javati as an influencer. I thought that was cute.
Yeah, that was funny.
All right. Last note is patient updates. Baby Jane Doe is still waiting for foster care. I have a theory. Guarantee you I'm wrong, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. What if Dr. Collins ends up fostering and then adopting Baby Jane Doe, and we see her again before the season's out when she comes to pick up the baby?
I don't know, man. It seems like a big swing, but hey.
It is.
And crazier things have happened on this show.
I like the concept, but I think the way the contracts work, I don't think that Tracy, I don't know how to say her last name.
Ipakor.
I don't think she filmed anything, or I think she's just. Yeah, that's true. No,
y'all let me be wrong 5 episodes from now. Don't shit on my joy today.
I'd like to think that was that some kind of beautiful future is out there for both of them.
Even if maybe she doesn't show up, but we learned that the baby went to Dr. Collins or something like that.
Yeah. I just feel like there's a lot more going to happen with that baby. They didn't just insert the baby in this season and then just like the baby goes on out the door. I feel like there's got to be something big coming with that baby, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm genuinely at a
Maybe
loss.
somebody steals it.
I don't know, man.
Because they keep showing those daggum security doors and the security guards standing there, letting people in and out. People are struggling to have babies nowadays. Maybe somebody steals the baby, tries to steal the baby or something like that.
I don't know, man. I'm completely out of ideas about what's going on with that dang baby. Baby Jane Doe.
Baby Jane Doe.
Baby Jane.
All right, Howard's still in surgery. Prayers for Howard. Come on, man. Please pull through.
You got
and
this,
poor
Howard.
Jude, God bless him, is waiting for surgery.
Yeah,
So
that poor kid.
Oh, so cute. Poor kid.
all right. Anything else y'all want to discuss before we jump into final thought?
Only that I feel like Dr. King should already have a much better understanding of how liability works when you're a doctor. I felt like that was a little unbelievable that she's having to get that lesson after her first deposition. I feel like they would have covered that with her in med school.
Yeah, I love Mel, but I felt there are times with this storyline where they've kind of made her a little more childlike than they have in the past. I mean, you had even Santos in her snarky way was saying like, oh, everyone gets sued at one time or another. Robbie tells her, like they had like a multitude of people saying, hey, this is a frivolous case or it happens to all of us. And she just, there was nothing that like
really explains her panic about it.
Yeah. And I don't want to, if she was in a panic about it, she was, and I get that, but it just felt like Mel would snap to a little more like, I don't know the word I'm looking for. She's a little less nervous about it, a little more confidence about it.
Yeah, it seems like that's dragging on a bit, and I'm wondering where they're going with it. Like you pointed out, childlike. Like it's almost like she's a med student. She's not all,
she's gone backwards.
Yeah.
She's not moving forward.
And I don't know if it was just narratively to like drive home like that Langdon is her trusted one. Like only he can kind of make her feel better, which I get, if they want that narrative. And Taylor Dearden has talked about like he's the one who sees her. And I think a lot of fans mistake that like nobody tries with Mel. Like we've seen like a lot of people really try and talk with Mel and try to comfort her, over the 25 episodes. Her draw to Langdon, I get, is her like just her emotional attachment to him, but I think it kind of puts a little, not a negative spin, but like, I don't know, it just lends to some negative comments about like no one talks to Mel, no one listens to Mel. And it's like, no, that's not entirely true either.
Kind of the opposite. Mel doesn't really listen to anybody except, or at least not, maybe listen's not the right word, but she doesn't emotionally connect at all with almost anybody but Langdon.
Yeah. And I get that that's part of the narrative, which made her really click with him and remember him all those months later from that one day.
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes it's at the detriment of the other characters.
Right. I've had a hard time really articulating this, but there's something about that storyline. It's not that I dislike that storyline. I'm puzzled a little bit by it. Like, I feel like there's something missing about why is Langdon the one that she imprinted so strongly on.
Right.
I never questioned that because it seemed like a very natural flow, but I don't know, maybe when we go back and watch some season 1 episodes, we'll see something that we missed, but I
feel like, or at least maybe I just hope this, part of Taylor's storyline, like, I don't want to say that it feels like Dr. King has been underutilized this season, or Taylor Dearden has, because I have a lot of trust in these writers, and I feel like perhaps that's because there is something coming down the block. But what I would like to see is for her to become a bit more self-aware and perhaps for us to get a little bit of more understanding of what's going on under the surface with Dr. King and why she does some of the things that she does.
I think we're headed there. I think they're building up to be it that she isn't aware that she's on the spectrum, or that she is aware, but she has nothing other than her work and her sister. And then, but they're definitely leading somewhere. We didn't spend all of these episodes hearing about this deposition and Becca coming in for it to go nowhere. The show, like you said a million times, doesn't do anything unintentional. So I'm gonna give it time.
Yeah, that's
because
pretty
I
much where I'm
really
at with it.
I think it is going to play out and pay off, hopefully in a positive light for Mel, but we'll see.
Let's hope that Mel isn't the rug that we're not seeing being pulled out from underneath us.
Yeah,
we ride it, Dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hear me, Pitt creators. We will ride it, Dawn.
There's so many possibilities, like you could name half the cast of characters and be like, they're spiraling, and yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like Clue. You're like, who's gonna get off in the library with the candlestick,
right, with a severed leg.
Right.
All right, final thoughts. Mine are, damn, they brought it all out in episode 10. The tension building, the tonal shift from kind of chill to harsh, snappy staff, the amazing prosthetic work, more amazing directing and writing. The delivery of a couple of things that we've already talked about took me out just a little bit, but not enough to detract from the awesomeness that was this episode. So I'm giving this 5 big girl panties out of 5.
That's a good one. I loved it. This is what I've been waiting for. We talked several times at the beginning of the season about all of the naysayers online saying that this season was starting out too slow and it was dragging on, etc.
And we were going to wish for that.
Mm-hmm. This is where we're at. And I am at the edge of my seat, creeping closer and closer to the, you know what I mean? Like, they're doing an exquisite job of ratcheting up the tension and leading to whatever crescendo is coming down the road for all of these characters. I am giving it 5 severed legs out of 5. 5.
Well done.
5 tib-fib amputations out of 5. I picked that up. And I was like, tibiophilia. Look at me.
She's not a doctor, but she did watch the Pit last night. All right, Ellen, what say you?
I really enjoyed it too. Like just the ratcheting up, like you were saying, it's, it's heading into, I kind of think of it as in 3 sections, right? So we're heading into like the back 9 or, the final 5 episodes, and it's just ramping up. And I just felt like this episode was about people like reaching their breaking point, or, either reaching their breaking point or teetering on the brink of reaching their breaking point. Their interpersonal stuff, like people were bickering. There was a lot of, there was just a lot of tension, but I loved it. And I would give it 5. I didn't think of this. 5 Joy Kwans get the fuck in the chair.
Yes. I didn't mention that. Yes. I'm so glad you brought that back.
You just won the episode.
Yes.
Well done.
I love Joy Kwan.
Me too. I don't know.
That was a great moment.
I don't know how we almost went out of this episode without mentioning that. Joy, you didn't get talked about almost this entire episode that we just recorded, and I apologize for that because you were the badass of this entire episode. You really were great.
She's becoming a badass of the season.
Yeah, I love her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's going to be in running for a Pitt Award at the end of the season from us.
For sure.
All right. We did get quite a bit of feedback on this episode. So via our What's On Tonight Facebook page, Diane Peters wrote, "It was excellent. A lot going on." And Robbie's friend played on General Hospital.
He did. I remember him on China Beach.
Yeah, I remember him from China Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw on the internet that was what's his name? Wells. What's his first name, Becky?
John Wells.
John Wells.
Yeah, I saw on the internet that John Wells was the showrunner. He was a writer and then ended up being the showrunner for China Beach. And that they were talking about how even on ER, he liked to bring in certain actors over that he'd worked with over different shows, so that they were saying that this was very much felt like a John Wells decision to cast him. But
I think it was a great choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
he's
He was in Sons of Anarchy. That's where I remember that, and the way he played a horrible person on The Walking Dead. But yeah, I've seen him in a whole
he's
bunch
been
of
in a
stuff.
lot.
He played Cyrus Renault from 2020 to 2025.
Okay, I knew it had to be sometime when I wasn't watching the show anymore. I watched General Hospital religiously for about 10 years, but
I did
I
too.
quit watching back probably 2005, 2006. So got him old.
What's General Hospital? Who killed Diana Taylor? Remember
I
that?
don't remember that.
I wasn't watching then. I've literally been watching like for the last maybe year since I've been working, had the TV on in the background working from home. So I know Luke and Laura, but that's it.
All right. So from Taylor Boggs, Robbie was kind of a dick this week, but he said your line, LOL, to Ogilvy, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, I mean, Robbie was kind of an asshole when he did, but we all still got a good chuckle out of it.
Absolutely.
Oh, via email, our girl Penny Lennox says, "Hi, Mandy and Becky,"
Hey, girl.
and I'm sure she means Ellen too.
She'd
She'd known you were here. And then Penny goes on, "We're set up to feel a lot of sympathy for Langdon. He makes a sweet apology to Louie, who had no idea anything had happened and has been trying to talk to Robbie all day. And when he finally does, Robbie's pretty unforgiving. Plus, we see him being so sweet and charming with Mel and her sister. He's a handsome, charming man." I went back and rewatched some of season 1, specifically the scenes of Langdon getting found out by Santos. The way she noticed something was off so quickly and the way he immediately started targeting her and, frankly, abusing her was sadly familiar. The second she questioned an irregularity with some medications, he got inappropriately angry and started belittling her. Addicts protect their addiction and they will lie, steal, cheat, or abuse people to do so. Santos's reaction told me she was familiar with that pattern. His abuse made her more suspicious, and she was right. Santos can be pretty abrasive. She's got a very tough exterior, ambitious. Mildly bullying, Giovanni and Whitaker, constantly frustrated by charting requirements and complaining and grading. But the show makes a point that she carries the scars of abuse that all that tough exterior is compensating for. In quiet moments, she has deep compassion, like a lot of abuse survivors. In this episode, Santos is assigned to work with Langdon, and she does not hide her disdain at all. At first glance, she comes across as bratty, unprofessional, and petty. But Langdon was a real asshole to her and hasn't tried to apologize at all. He's chasing Robbie, his boss, all day, but hasn't made any effort with Santos at all. In service of his addiction, he tried to undermine her standing with Robbie, which could have derailed her career. I don't trust his recovery if he doesn't include making amends to Santos.
I feel it's coming, Penny. I really feel it's coming. You're right.
I think so too, but I'm going to pause here and say I wasn't going to bring this up until it turned out Penny's feedback was about this. I could see a world where Langdon's change in demeanor, the beginning of the season to now, he could have relapsed. I know that's not the story anybody wants, and I don't think that's it, but I could also see that being something that happens.
It's possible. I hope not, but it's possible.
I hope not too. He strikes me as the kind of person who has charmed his way through tough spots in life, relying on his intelligence and good looks and not having to get too deep. There were several indications of this in season 1, like getting a puppy for his kid without talking to his wife about it, then trying to find some way to buy her forgiveness instead of dealing with the fact that he didn't think that through or take her into consideration. Trying to use big gestures to smooth over relationship issues instead of fixing the underlying problem. He's keen to get forgiveness from his boss, but not everyone he hurt. If he had done any real introspection in rehab, he would be ashamed of how he treated Santos and need to apologize to her, but she doesn't have power over him like Robbie does. It's very telling. Love you, ladies. Keep slaying. Penny.
Very interesting.
I like that. I could have wrote that. I find I think a lot of people overlook or I think miscategorize Santos at the end. She didn't want to report him.
No.
Mm-mm.
Robbie kind of coaxed that out of her. She said, I don't want to get anyone in trouble, because the time she tried to talk to Garcia about it, she got shut down.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people who don't like Santos are like, she's venge, she turned him in because she was vengeful. She wanted revenge because he was mean to her. And I'm like,
They're misremembering.
I don't get that at all. That when he yelled at her in front of people, I think that was the most traumatizing thing. And then for him to come back, she doesn't know how Robbie reacted to him. She's only seen Garcia tell her, get over it. She saw Mel practically hug him. She's seen everybody be on board. And as an empathetic person, I want him to succeed, but he hasn't apologized to her. And she probably should have been the first one, in a way. And there was one part where he said to Mel, and he said it last year too, when he was fighting with Robbie, he said that it never affected his work. And I'm like, that's one denial you gotta like.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear it stated that that's not accurate, because I feel like his recovery is genuine and he's being sincere, but that doesn't mean it's perfect, and that doesn't mean he doesn't see something.
It's not linear, like you said.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that he's not like where she says he's trying to use big gestures to smooth over. I get that with his wife, but he's keen to get forgiveness from his boss, but not everyone he hurt. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think he is on the path to getting to everyone that he hurt. Is he doing it in the proper order? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Recovery looks different for everybody else, but I don't necessarily think it's fair to say that he should have come out of the gate reacting a certain way. Mm-hmm. But I do agree that he needs to apologize to Santos, and I would prefer him do it sooner rather than later, but it makes for a better story to have it dry out like this.
And it makes for a better story that, after what happened with Robbie, he's probably more
gun-shy.
About, because she's made it clear. Like, I felt like he was trying to dip his toe in the water a little bit with the tongue case. Mm-hmm. And she was just kind of like, fucking take your toe back, and I don't want to sound like I'm insensitive to addiction or recovery. I'm not an addict, but I've had family and relationships with addicts in the past. There's like a guilt factor of like when they're trying or in recovery for the first time that you have to be like the cheerleader. And I found it wasn't always easy because addicts relapse more often than not. You don't know how many times you're going to have to go through that. You don't know how many times as like the loved one, you're going to have to reset to their recovery. Mm-hmm. And I think what Santos and Robbie are showing is that side of it where it's like, glad you got your help, but you need to prove it a little longer.
Show me, don't say it.
Yeah. I'm on record as saying I don't think that he should be having any of these conversations right now. But I will say that another way I could see this go, another thought I had about this character is that part of the reason that he may not be going off on Santos when she's being so shitty to him is that he is profoundly sorry for the way that he treated her. Yeah. And he understands why she is so pissed off. And maybe she's just the one that he's been the most afraid to have that.
That's what I think.
I agree.
I think he is afraid. That's why I think when he does end up saying something to her, it's going to spill out of him. It's not going to be planned or psyching himself up like he did with Robbie. I think they're going to be in a situation and he's just going to open his mouth and it's just going to come. Something is going to thank you. Sorry, I fucked up. Mm-hmm. Something. It's just going to come. It's like he's just going to puke it all over her. Mm-hmm. And then what she does with that's up to her. But yeah, that's the way I see it coming.
I could see that.
Yeah. And I think last year when he yelled at her, there was a sense of like, he told her she was stupid and basically like.
He was afraid. Like, it doesn't make it right.
Right. Like, I think Santos has taken it like she doesn't belong there. And like she's continually have to prove that and reprove it and feels like a pariah. And then Robbie made Langdon feel like he didn't belong there. So I think there's that parallel. And I'm wondering if part of that apology or making amends from Langdon, because I really think it will come. And I really think he does mean it. I think it would be sincere when it comes. I think there's going to be some type of like, they're maybe not saying it directly, but there's going to be some type of like, we belong here.
Right.
Kind of realization between the two of them.
Yeah.
Like a common ground.
That is what I'm hoping. I think we talked about that last episode or episode before last, that I was hoping that what is going to eventually happen as we move into the next season is that these two characters are going to learn that they have more in common than they have disparate, and that they're going to move together. Like maybe this will be the person that she can go to and talk to. Whereas, she's looking for validation from the wrong people right now. And that maybe this shared experience can help them to, maybe, because again, I do think it's going to turn out that Santos has somebody that suffers with addiction in her past. And maybe this will help her to put some of that to bed. That's what I'm hoping. Anyway.
Yeah. Thank you, Penny, for that feedback and sparking a really good conversation. And we love you too, by the way. Oh my gosh, we got an email from Coffee and Vodka. Coffee and Vodka writes in feedback for some other of the shows that I listen to, podcasts I listen to, and one of them is Still Slang that Penny is on. And I love his emails. And I reached out to him when I was covering an episode with Penny, and I was like, hey, if you're watching the Pitt, send us some feedback. And it turns out he wasn't, but I did get this email today and it made me smile. So they wrote in, hey, Becky and Mandy and Ellen, hope all's going well. Although not watching the Pitt, I have listened to a couple of what's on cast concerning it. Love your conversations, observations, and greatly appreciate you not making it a PG affair. It's great to hear adults speak like adults. That is the first time anyone has ever told us that. Thank you.
We've never been accused of that before.
Right. Again, wish I'd been around for your What We Do in the Shadows and or Dexter coverage. With luck, our interests will align post the Pitt, and I'll be able to join in with a bit of feedback in parentheses if that would be all right. Yes, that would be more than all right. Speaking of, what's next on the What's On Tonight docket? Peace and take care, Coffee and Vodka. I just adore you. I did email him back and tell him what we're thinking of covering, but I'm not going to say it on here in case that's not what we end up doing. But Mandy and I do have
some thoughts.
A plan.
Yeah.
So, and if anyone has any thoughts or suggestions on what we should cover next, let us know. But know that we like it to either be a show or we've already covered a season of or a brand new show. We don't like to really dive in like season 6 of The Walking Dead or something like that.
Yeah, if we were going to be doing that, we would
new.
definitely be doing RuPaul's Drag Race. Since we're not going to do that, then yeah, we need a new show or one we've already covered.
Right.
Via text, Anita. Oh, she sounds like a lovely lady. I'm kidding. It's my mom. My mom wrote, y'all, I don't think Robbie is going to go on this trip at all. I don't think anybody
That's
thinks
what Ellen said.
Yeah. I think Duke, she says, I think Duke will play into Robbie staying. Oh, and the Ewans and Crick, that's just straight Pennsatucky. Yeah, she's talking about our conversation about how similar some of the words from the Pittsburghese are to Southern slang. And she's right. I forgot that they share a border with Kentucky.
We got a voicemail from our friend Sam. Here's her thoughts on the episode.
Hi, ladies. I'm going to try and get through this without coughing. So we were right. Robbie is getting triggered by the people around him reminding him of emotional distress and psychological distress. I mean, we all kind of thought a little bit about Langdon, how he was avoiding him. I think Robbie feels really guilty because he was probably avoiding Langdon's hints in the past about substance use and using it during the shift. Or, that Robbie's approach to mental health distress is suck it up, bury it, keep it outside, and you'll be fine, which isn't how that works. And I don't know if in the months in between, Robbie has sort of reflected on that his approach to his mental health is perhaps not the best for everyone else around him. And as an attending, he leads the way on how to cope with what's going on. That's what all these doctors are learning from him, is also how do you cope with this stuff. And we see that. Like, we see Whitaker attending to Ogilvy and stuff. It's how do you learn to live with it? And I mean, Langdon did the drugs. He was addicted. Like, there's no excuses in there. We're seeing, though, like, Robbie, like, is trying to tell Langdon, like, hey, I don't even want you working in my hospital. Reminder that I can't just bury my feelings and it's fine. And then Dr. Mohan has a human moment, very normal, and he just immediately explodes on her. Like Dr. Al-Hashimi, slowly becoming one of my favorites for this season, surprisingly. She's like, how do we get empathy back into you? Because you can't teach like this. And it was a completely inappropriate response to a panic attack, which is rough. Robbie's had a panic attack. And we know how Robbie deals with his panic attacks. So he's expecting that same maladaptive behavior in his ducklings, or all around him, his underlings. I don't know what we want to call them.
I like ducklings.
And it's so toxic and unhealthy. I feel really bad for him. And I wonder if that's the tension. I felt it watching the episode. Are we slowly watching Robbie just have like this enormous breakdown? Like, where he just alienates everyone in the ED or ER, and he just completely spins out. So it's just not great. And then, that is very different than our girl, Dr. Santos, our woman, Dr. Santos. Now, the actress, Issa Briones, and the character get a lot of judgment. I do think, Mandy, you're right about the misogyny. I've appreciated Dr. Santos this season. I think she's been doing a great job. She really fumbled it right here. Like, I completely understand why she's upset with Langdon. She has every right to be, 100%. And I blame Langdon for dragging his feet, I'm guessing for dramatic license, in apologizing to her, thanking her, confronting her, like, whatever. Like, it's this unspoken thing. At the same time, you cannot let that impact patient care. That is the number one pet peeve I have, is you don't get to act out your own stuff onto patients. It can happen, and it happens. This was repeated, and it made me furious.
I'm pausing here because didn't the patient ask Santos if everything was okay right before she cut into him?
Yeah, the patient noticed, and that was when
that's bad.
I was cringing throughout because I love Santos, and I was like, "Oh, girl, stop it!" But when the patient noticed, it's like, "Oh,
I love mess and drama, especially if it's not my mess and drama. But I think that's the one time when I'd been like, hey, dog, you're about to cut into me. Could y'all just take the shit somewhere else after you get me squared away?
Or come back when you are emotionally mature to handle the big responsibility that you're about to do.
And then you could tell me all about the drama. Once
I got time. I'm going to be here for a minute. Let's talk. Yeah. All right, sorry, back to Sam.
Hashimi, who doesn't know the background, about how bad it was that one day. Thank you for reminding me that one day that Dr. Santos met Langdon. Even she was like, you could learn a lot from your senior residents. Okay, Dr. Santos, I completely get being angry with him. You're still there to learn, and you're still there to do what's best for the patients, so that you can do it for your next patient. A lot of this is compartmentalizing for the good of this vulnerable person in front of you who is scared and in pain. You don't get to act up in that room. They are the only ones who get to act up in that room. You can totally ignore Langdon afterwards. I would. And then, oh my God, when the patient was like, is everything okay? I was like, aw, fuck you, Dr.
Oh, there
Santos.
it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Really, fuck you. This is really bad. You don't get to make this terrified, injured father just be unsure that the people he put his life into their hands is okay. Like, come on, I know this is a show, but you don't get to do that is enormously unprofessional. And I like how Dr. Garcia called her out multiple times. Again, I'm not making excuses for Langdon. I do blame him for the most of this. But, and at the same time, you're going to work with unprofessional medical professionals, and you're going to have to still hold your ground like Langdon did. And Dr. Garcia was pointing it out that it was ridiculous. Come on, this isn't about you right now. It's about the patient, and you don't get to do this. So, like, it's just such a mess. It made me furious, and it reminded me a little too much of season 1 Dr. Santos. Although I do feel bad. I do think Dr. Santos should probably go home. Poor thing is exhausted. So, I mean, I dread what the online forums are going to say, because this was definitely a slip back. And, I mean, again, Langdon needs to get off his butt and talk to Dr. Santos. And Robbie looks like he's in for a rough turn. So what do you ladies think? Do you think that the son is dead from the water park? Or I guess he's on his way, but is that the right kid? What do you think is going to happen with the final spin out as we go down to the last parts of the season?
Didn't Emma find his kid and he was okay?
I think so.
But she introduced I thought at first I was about to go, but she then introduced the idea that maybe it's the wrong kid that's on the way.
Oh, okay. I just heard.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Very good.
Huh.
Also,
Thank you,
kudos
Sam.
to Emma. We didn't give her big ups for that. Way to go, Emma. That was really smart thinking on your part.
Good detective work.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love how she's hanging in there, man.
She really is.
Keep Emma and Howard safe. All right. Lastly, we got a couple of listeners who sent us their impressions of Dana's Baby Jane Doe. And we are going to start with our friend Penny. Here we go. She says it 3 times and I love it.
Baby Jane Doe. Baby Jane Doe. Baby Jane Doe.
Second one.
That was that first one sounded straight up like Carter County, Tennessee.
Baby Jane Doe.
The second one, I think,
I just pictured
was
her.
the best, Penny.
Yeah.
Pictured her standing in line at like Walmart, just going agenda into her phone. Oh, Penny!
Oh,
you
God,
killed
that
me.
was amazing. All right. And next up, we have Linda.
Linda.
Baby Jane Doe.
Oh, I just want to squeeze her little cheeks.
Love you, Linda.
Linda, you are adorbs.
Oh, that was great. Thank you, guys.
Linda said it like Baby Jane Doe is in trouble.
Baby Jane Doe.
She did. She did like she was fussing at Baby Jane. No.
That was so cute. Thank y'all.
Oh, that was great. I renamed mine and Becky's and Sam's group chat to it was Pickle Dad's Princesses because we covered it. Welcome to Dairy.
Right.
And if you watch that, you know why. But
You know.
I changed it to Baby Jane Don't because Jane Don't is one of my favorite drag queens that's on this season of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Nice.
But it's great because when I'm using voice to text, I say, text Baby Jenda, and it gets it, and it's great. I get to say that like 7-8 times a day now.
Love it.
So, yeah. Ooh, all right, guys. As always, thank you so much to everybody who took time to send us feedback. We love it. Please keep it coming. All of your thoughts have been so interesting and entertaining and
educating.
And I just really, really love the grace you give us that you would take your time, give us your thoughts on any of this. It makes it feel so much more collaborative, and we really, really appreciate it.
And y'all, please keep the Baby Jane Does coming. Please, 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 please.
Oh, man. Whew.
If you would like to get in touch with us, send us a Baby Jane Doe or leave some feedback. Don't send us a Baby Jane. Okay, I got like a whole bit in my head just then. Don't send us your babies.
Don't do that.
We will not be raising them. We will be taking them to the local hospital and finding a Dana.
Yes. So if you would like to get in touch with us, leave some Baby Jane Doe impressions or feedback, or just say hello. You can email or send us a voice message as an attachment to what's on tonight and the number 2 at gmail.com.
You can visit our Facebook page where there will be a post for the next episode, and you can leave feedback in the comment section or send us a message through Facebook Messenger. We can be found on Instagram as well at What's On Tonight Podcast and the number 2.
All right. And we would greatly appreciate it if you'd leave a review, comment, like, and or share on your podcast listening app of choice.
All right, y'all. So why don't we go have a panic attack with Mohan and talk about where else listeners can find us, podcast recommendations, good TV, movies, or anything else you want to share. Mandy, you're up first.
I binged the series on Amazon Prime, Scarpetta, this week. That's based on the Patricia Cornwell novels.
That was my recommendation too.
Oh no! Well,
no, it's cool.
Well, I don't watch a lot of TV, so this was like pretty remarkable that I got. I mean, like I was hooked. I could not wait to get to the next episode, and I think a lot of that had to do with Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, man, she was just. It was a great series. Bobby Cannavale is great. Nicole Kidman does a great job. I know that there are people that are bigger fans of the novels. I read them, or some of them, but it's been so long that I barely remember the plot line, so it couldn't really mess with my head. If there was anything that was different, I didn't remember it. And I think she did a great job. But man, Jamie Lee Curtis, she blew the roof off of it. I could watch her in almost anything. That woman she's a treasure.
I haven't finished it yet. I still have 3 more episodes, I think. But the reason I started watching that is because Brian Parker, the amazing supervising sound engineer for the Pitt, also did the supervising sound engineering for Scarpetta, and he posted about it on his Instagram. So I was like, I'll check it out. And holy cow, Mandy's right. I haven't finished it yet, so I don't even know how it's going to end, but I'm into it. It's a good show.
All right.
All right, Ellen, your turn. Tell us all about it.
I co-host a Pitt recap podcast on the Project Fandom, and you could also find it under Podcast Fandom. It's a great site. We've covered Pluribus recently. There's a lot of K-dramas on there. That's one of my recommendations, actually. Project Fandom, you could find it on Spotify and Apple, I believe. Extraordinary Attorney Woo's Korean show, really good. And now I'm going to say Extraordinary Attorney Woo because of Baby Jane. And I love Shrinking. Shrinking is like one of my top recommendations. And podcasts, I'm just going to kind of plug my sister-in-law's podcast. It's a couple of years old at this point, but still a lot of traction. It's called Beyond All Repair, season 2. Extensive journalism into a very fascinating true crime case.
Ooh,
yeah.
Interesting.
Beyond All Repair. Season 2.
Check that one out.
Yeah.
Send us links to both.
Sure, will.
And we'll add them in our show notes so our listeners can find you.
All right.
And as for me, I just suggest y'all continue, if you're a big fan of the Buffyverse, to keep up with Penny, Sam, and Kara as they continue their coverage of Buffy and Angel. I was so grateful to get to join them to cover the season 4 finale of Buffy. And if you remember, if you know, the Cheese Man, we had a good time. So you can find a link for that podcast in our show notes, as well as on podcastica.com. And my TV recommendation is the same as Mandy's, y'all. Go check out Scarpetta. Mandy and I have the same brain.
In many ways.
A huge thank you to Mark and Pirate Core Entertainment for giving us this platform. Please visit the Pirate Core website. You can find it on our Facebook page. There you can find our podcast, as well as other podcasts like Dinner for Her with our very own Mandy, Panels to Pixels podcast, a Journal and Cinema podcast, and other projects Mark is working on.
Oh man, I'm kind of sad to wrap this one up. This has been a great conversation, Ellen.
I completely agree, Ellen. You're a gem. Thank you so much for being with us.
I was really excited to do this. So
we've been too, and it worked. It turned out great. You're just a great addition to the show. We've had such luck with just really, really good co-stars. So we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that wraps up our coverage of episode 10 of season 2 of The Pitt. We will be back next week to cover episode 11 titled 5 p.m. Ooh, the day is wearing
What?
on. I know.
5
How
p.m.
we get here already? It only feels like
Ugh.
3 years ago we started this.
Literally.
Becky,
That is one thing this show will do is make you think it's been 6 years. And then you are jerked back to reality that, holy cow, this is still one day.
remember when my mom told us like 3 episodes ago, y'all quit being so hard on Robbie. It's only been one day. And we were both like,
Yeah.
holy crap.
Like, oh, shit, she's right.
It has been. Becky is wrapping up editing our interview with Ernest Hardin Jr., aka Louie. I cannot wait for you guys to be able to hear it. He's everything you wanted him to be and more.
Yeah.
It's going to be coming up soon, and continue to keep an eye out for more great interviews to come.
Yeah. Thank y'all for your patience. It's a lot going on. I'm getting to all of this as soon as I humanly possibly can. It's always important to me to get the episode coverage out and then work on the interviews. So all will be well and all will be up, but I'm getting there. And we want to thank everyone for listening. I do not have a quote this week. I'm just going to tell you guys, hug your friends, hug your family, be kind to each other, be nice to each other, be patient with each other, and just love each other. Life is too short not to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
And I'm Ellen.
And we will catch you next week when we grab the remote and see what's on tonight.
Bye. Becky, I got to move your big head to read the rest of this.